You're listening to On Purpose with Aisha Cogborn. And guess what? I'm Aisha. I'm on a mission to help people connect their purpose and passion with their profession. My goal is to bring you conversations with regular people like you who are bold enough to pursue their dreams, along with the tools and resources to help you pursue your dreams too. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and visit onpurposepodcast.com for links to the things we mention on the show. Now let's get started. I'm so excited for our conversation today with my special guest, Veronica Armstrong. And Veronica is a coach who works with leadership teams and executives in corporate America, but she also has this superpower of being able to work with women outside of that corporate structure. And she created her own thing. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, I have this demanding job, I can't do things entrepreneurial as well. Well, that's not true, because Veronica is proving that it can happen. And outside of corporate, Veronica is also coaching women to really understand that they can break out of that invisible box and live life on their own terms. And she works with women to help them find that clarity and the confidence to go after the opportunities they deserve. And she's the founder of Leadership Life Support. Now, I love that Leadership Life Support. We got Startup Life Support. Veronica's got Leadership Life Support. So it's all about, life support here, right? Because y'all need it. And she has created that to help professional women become better leaders from the inside out, and also helping women across sectors to really take that responsibility for their lives, to live on their own terms, not what somebody's telling me this is what I'm limited to, on their own terms. Y'all hear that, ladies?
Yes.
Welcome, Veronica. We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
One of the things that I was so excited about in having this conversation with you is that, when people look at you, they see this corporate VP, they see someone who's very successful, they see someone that is just pulled together, everything seems to be perfect. And a lot of times I know that people will look at folks that they admire and think, wow, I want to be like her, but I can't because I've been through this. If only I had this, if only, I can't because. There's always a reason, an excuse, whatever. And your background completely defies all of that.
Absolutely.
So tell us, what has your journey been like to get where you are today?
Wow, my journey started when I was young. As much as I love my family, I'm going to preface what I'm going to say is my family is amazing. They really are. However, we are all kind of victims of, our past. And sometimes we don't know how to let that go. So when I was younger, my mom had me out of wedlock, and my mom's family didn't particularly care for my dad. And I think their feelings about my dad carried over to me. And so they treated me, what I say, some kind of way. When I compare how they treated me to how they treated my other cousins whose parents, were married, I just felt different. I had an uncle who just, for whatever reason, always made me the object of his rage. He was very, very verbally abusive toward me. A lot. It was consistently abusive to me. And the adults in my life, they didn't seem to do enough. I think they tried, but I don't think they had the intestinal fortitude to really kind of put their foot down and say enough is enough. And that went on for years. I mean, it actually didn't stop until I was in my 30s.
Oh, wow.
When I finally put my foot down and said enough is enough. But also my mom, I think, had a tough time with her dad. And she, having me out of wedlock by a man with her brothers didn't like either. It was tough for her. So She left me, and she loved my dad. Let me just say, she loved my dad. My mom saved all of their letters, and she gave them to me when I was 18, so that she knew and so that I knew that she loved my dad. But there was such a bad relationship between my dad's family and my mom's family, and I was just in the middle of it. And I think I was just a constant reminder of my mom of what she wasn't able to have, and so. Our relationship was bad. So verbal abuse, physical abuse, there was just a lot of abuse going on in my life. But luckily for me, I was able to kind of overcome a lot of that. And I'm still working on it today. I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
I may be a corporate executive, but I'm still a work in progress. So that's the story that got me to where I am.
Yeah. When you look at your life experiences, how has that impacted the leader that you've become and even the coach that you are when you're working with other people?
One of the things that I learned is that we are not our circumstances. At some point in time, and it is up to us as adults to take responsibility for our lives and start making decisions that allow us to live the lives that we want to live. And so as a leader, I am not one who likes to take excuses, because I've been there, done that. I've been in 3 group homes, 2 foster homes, and a juvenile detention center, and I was declared an emancipated minor at 15 years old. If I was able to overcome all of that past trauma and get through all of that and get to where I am today, everybody else can do the same. We can't look at our circumstances and think because we've made this decision or that decision and we haven't been successful that the world is over. The world is not over. You have the ability to choose. As long as God created you and put you on this earth, you need to keep trying until you get it right. So my background and my experiences have made me a pretty tough leader at times. I mean, tough in the sense that I won't let you give up. Unless you give up on yourself, like you totally give up, I won't let you give up. Yeah. And I don't accept excuses. I keep pushing and I keep pushing. And that's one of the reasons why I got into coaching, is because there were so many other women out there like me who experienced some of the things that I've experienced. And it's either they throw in the towel, they leave the organization, they become bitter. And I don't mean that in a bad way, bitter in the sense that, they just don't think they're going to get anywhere. And so that kind of it shows up in their work and in their attitude. But my experiences have really kind of catapulted me in a different direction. I say to some of my clients, their experiences hold them back. My experience propelled me forward because I did not want to end up being a statistic, the kind of statistic that everyone expected me to be.
Yeah. What was it? One of the things that frustrates me sometimes, and you know me, so you know my story too. I got pregnant at 17, had a baby at 18, single mom, same thing. And it frustrates me sometimes when people will look at me and say, well, you made it, so everybody can make it, without acknowledging that it's not easy. Like, there are times when I feel like the exception rather than the rule. It doesn't mean that there was something so special about me that I made it, but there were circumstances that aligned a certain way, or people that came into my life that allowed things to be different for me than perhaps other people. So what were those circumstances or those people? Like, what let you know that your life could be different than maybe what other people would have expected that it would be?
Yeah, I was truly, truly blessed. At 15, when I was eventually taken out of the system, it had to do with a young lady. Her name is Mary. I know her full name. I won't say it. Her name is Mary. She was a young law intern, and she was working with my attorney. And when she met me, she had already read through my file, and she was very sweet, very kind. And she said to me, she actually came to me. They had me locked up in a cell in the county courthouse in Westchester, New York. They had me locked up in a cell. And
at 15 years old?
At 15 years old. I think I may have been handcuffed as well, because I was just taken from the juvenile detention center, which of course it was a juvenile detention center, right? So there were kids in there that were really doing bad things not even remotely close to what I was doing. I mean, I didn't do anything to be there, but she had read through my file, and she said, you know what? when she came to the cell, she said to the guard, she said, I don't think she needs to be handcuffed. She's not a danger to anyone. She's not a danger to herself. All she did was try to get into her house when her mom locked her out. So just take the handcuffs off. Just open the cell. Let me talk to her. So she came in and she talked to me and she said, you know what? I've read through your file and I don't think it's you. I don't think this is you. I think you're just in a bad situation. What I didn't know at the time is what a lot of adults who were reading my file thought. That was like the first clue that people really didn't see me as being the problem. It was everything else around me that was the problem. I mean, I didn't make it any better with my behavior, but she truly said, I don't think it's you. So would you be okay with me asking your attorney to have you declared an emancipated minor? And I didn't know what that was at the time. And when she explained it, I said, absolutely. And she asked me, do you have anyone who can come and get you because you'll have to move out of your house? And I happened to call a friend, her dad, and he came to the courthouse. And this was all unbeknownst to my mother. My mother was in the courthouse that day, but she did not know any of this was happening.
Oh, wow.
So we got into the courtroom and the judge declared me an emancipated minor. My mother was livid, absolutely livid, because her rights were being taken away. And she did not understand how that could be possible. But that was the beginning of my journey, is hearing this woman say to me at 23 years old, you can be and do whatever you want. You just need to get out of the situation that you're in. So that was the start. The next period in my life where things started to, it's not a great situation, but it was certainly a pivotal moment in my life, is I'd become a leader very early on. I went to college, graduated, because I was a good student. What I didn't say is after I moved out of my house for 6 months, I actually did move back in. My mother and I just agreed to disagree that, at this point I was an emancipated minor. There was nothing she could do. So she took me back to school. I missed 3 years of regular school, but I got back into the right grade.
Wow.
Because I took an IQ test. And I remember hearing the guy say, do you realize your daughter tested near the gifted range? And my mom was like, really? And so luckily for me, missing 3 years of school, I got back in at the right level. After high school, I went directly to college, and then I went to work in corporate America in banking. I had a boss who said, no, I don't want you to come back after college. I want you to get into the management training program. So that was the next person. She got me into the management training program. And then I started working for a large bank, and I became an executive early in my life. I don't know what they were thinking when they made me a leader when I was younger, but I have been a leader for literally since I came out of college. And I went through 360-degree feedback. Now, up to that point, I had been called a high achiever, overachiever. I was just good. I mean, I was just knocking them dead. Because what was happening is that I was really proving to everyone I was worthy. Right? So that was one of those limiting beliefs that I had, not realizing that all these years felt like I wasn't good enough and I wasn't worthy. It all translated into overachieving.
Yes.
And so I went through this whole entire 360-degree feedback program, and I was absolutely blown away, devastated, I was bad. I was in tears. I was hurt. I was devastated. I thought the world was over. Because up to that point, all the feedback that I had been given was good feedback about how great my performance was. But what I didn't realize, and this is how I love to say it, is I was leaving dead bodies in my path. I was totally leaving dead bodies in my path. I mean, even though I was doing an amazing job, how I was going about it just was not conducive to going any further than what I was. And that was a really, really pivotal point in my life, because I did not understand how anyone could be giving me such harsh feedback about how harsh I was when I was doing such a great job, right? And so luckily, I was gifted with an executive coach, which was my first kind of encounter with a coach. And that's where my life really, really changed, because I recognized how much my experiences had shaped my behavior and how I was kind of going through life, and how if I didn't change, that I would never become what I could possibly become, because I was abrasive and I just didn't care what people thought. I mean, it was not a good situation.
Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute, because I know that there are a lot of people who are listening who can relate to that. It's like those of us who are very type A and just results oriented. And it's just like, look, I don't have time for your feelings. We got to get it done. So what was it in working with the coach or any other development opportunities that came out of that? What allowed you to step back and see your behaviors differently so that you were able to consider people, but also still not lose focus on the results?
I had come to learn that some people looked at me as the angry Black woman that I never, ever wanted to be. I actually had someone that I went to high school with reach out to me once and say, "You were so angry when you were younger." And I was, and it was still kind of playing out in my life. And so when I realized how I was coming across, and I realized how I felt my family thought about me versus all of my other cousins, I didn't want to be that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be that person because I knew I was better than that. So it was really my concern about people's perceptions of me and who I was versus who I felt I was. And so I said to myself, I have a choice. I can continue to go down this path and, just continue to appear to be that angry Black woman, or I can do and be something different, because I just didn't want to be seen as that angry Black woman.
Yeah. Oh goodness, there's so many places I want to go with this. So let's just camp out on this angry Black woman thing for a minute, because there are times that it frustrates me, because I'll think to myself, well, if I was a man, particularly if I was a white man, you would not think of me this way. You would think of me, okay, they know what she knows. If I was a he knows what he wants. He knows how to get results out of his team. It isn't angry. It's driven. It's focused. So why do you think it is that for women, and in particular Black women, we are seen in a different light for exhibiting the same behaviors that really are just associated with that masculine energy?
I think we're fearless.
Yeah.
We go through so much. There's not very much you can put in front of us that's going to make us run in the other direction. There are things that happen in our careers that some people kind of acquiesce, or they kind of cower in a corner. We walk right into it. Not only do we walk right into it, we walk right into it with confidence, right? Our confidence oftentimes comes across very differently to other people. And I think once you start to understand cultures and how people are culturally different and how they're taught, you can pretty much pick up on who is receiving you in what way. But I definitely think it's our confidence and our just being fearless and knowing, because we're all taught that you have to be better than everybody else. So we go into every situation knowing we are not going to back down. We're going to keep going. And that's scary to some people.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you kind of connecting that back, so we've got the fearlessness, we've got sometimes what is viewed as abrasiveness, and then you couple that with feelings of unworthiness. And you add on top of that trauma. When you throw all those things into the soup pot, what do you
A hot mess. It's a mess. It's a total mess. But you know what? It's a mess that can be fixed.
Yeah.
Right? It is not a lost cause. It is really coming to terms with the fact that there's some things that have happened in your life that create these behaviors or drive these behaviors that aren't serving you today.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, because we're all perfectly imperfect. We were designed exactly the way God intended us to be. But it does become our responsibility at some point in time to make a decision to do something different.
Yeah. So when we make that decision to do something different, what are the steps that we need to be considering as we look to make that change?
First and foremost, we've got to face our demons, right? We've got to acknowledge that they exist. There were things in my life that I've been through that I actually I just didn't start talking about them until 4 or 5 years ago. There are things that have happened to me in my life. My family doesn't even know. My mother went to her grave not knowing certain things because I held them in, and because I didn't want her to feel bad about allowing those things to happen. But you have to face your demons, and you have to acknowledge that those demons were, I think, put in our paths to create something. The question is, what were they there to create? Once you face that, you've got to look in the mirror and recognize that the person that's looking back at you, they are not going to change. Nothing is going to happen to them until you get to know who they are outside of all of those experiences, and you learn what their desires are, and you decide to take it upon yourself to do something about it. I say all the time, we look back at that person in the mirror every single day. We know everything. We know everybody. We do anything and everything for everyone and everybody, but we don't necessarily do enough for the person looking back at us in the mirror. And once you understand who that person is, you have to start to understand what your limiting beliefs are.
Yeah.
And once you understand what your limiting beliefs are, you can replace those with empowering beliefs. And that's where your life begins to change.
Yeah.
And it then becomes just deciding who you want to be, because you can now decide that, right? You can decide that, who you want to be and how you want to move through life. That's a decision that we all have to make for ourselves. And we can make those decisions at any moment, and we can change our direction at any moment. So that's how you begin that process.
How did you get to know who you were? I mean, because it was, all right, I'm problem child. This is who people think I am. Then you come out of college. Oh, we see you as a leader, so we put you on this path. But what were the things that you did to actually figure out who Veronica was at the core?
I had a lot of good women in my life who talked me through different things. I look back at all of my experiences, and I've always had someone come in my life who held up the mirror. Whether I wanted to see that mirror or not, they would hold it up. But my executive coach, who was a Black woman, she was instrumental in really helping me see how my past and my need to succeed and how that was coming across, and how as a Black woman, that those two are a recipe for disaster at the rate that I was going. She was honest with me. I think if I had a coach who was not Black, I don't think they would have been able to deliver the messages to me the way she delivered the messages. But she really, really helped me see myself through another lens. But I've also had so many women, white women in my life as well, who help me understand things about how white people saw me that I didn't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
And they gave it to me straight, right? They came from places where they were used to having Black friends and they were used to giving those messages. So God put them in my life because he knew I needed to hear the message through another lens.
Yeah.
And so it just took several people coming into my life, just kind of holding up that mirror and really, really helping me understand how the world perceived me. But I think another person who's been really instrumental is my husband, because he has always said that I am the female version of him. And I look at him and I look at how strong he is and how fearless he is. And I sometimes say, well, if I come across like that, that might not be a good thing, right? So, I look at people's behaviors and I ask myself, do I do that? Even leaders that I've had, do I do that? Or that sounds something like something I would do. I don't like the way that even sounds. I don't like the way that feels. Let me change that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's interesting too. And I've noticed this lately in myself, where there may be certain behaviors in other people that annoy me. And it's because it is mirroring. And so that is one of the things now that I do immediately. It's like, why is this annoying me so much? Do I do this too? And it may look different, but it's,
Yeah. Yeah, you have to do that, because I have a boss and there's something that she does. And it's just, I remember the first time she did it and I was like, ooh, I don't like the way she said that. Ooh, I do that. Ooh, I don't like that. I still do it, but I've changed how I do it. So it really is also observing people, behaviors in other people, and asking yourself, do you do the same thing? Because oftentimes if you're thinking about it, you probably do.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that we judge others by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our intent. So we may be carrying out the exact same actions that are driving everybody crazy, but because we know we're not coming from a bad place,
Right.
we don't think it's bad.
Right.
But the action is still the same.
Exactly. Exactly. And sometimes when people don't know who we are and they don't know what our intentions are and they don't know our heart, they can receive, the most genuine of messages. They can receive it in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Right. But that's where we have to have very good self-monitoring skills. That's also something I've learned, is how to self-monitor, paying attention to people's behavior and pulling back when I start to notice behavior that might, send a message to me that they're not receiving the message okay.
Yeah.
Because that's something I've learned as well. Part of my leaving dead bodies and, in my path was just ignoring people's behavior and their body language. Now I stop, I pull back. Let me kind of get a feel for what's going on here. And then I might have to take a different approach. For me, my whole entire journey has been learning every single day from every single encounter that I have. It's just never going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to the experience you talked about with, getting that 360 feedback and the results were not what you expected them to be. I think sometimes we can be so put off by what we see as negative feedback that we don't accept that as an opportunity to grow. So how do you get out of your feelings? And even whether the message is delivered terribly or constructively, but to be able to not, take it so personally that we just either that's not true, that's not who I am, blah, 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 you're just out to get me. Or the opposite, we completely shut down. Okay, well, I guess I'm not good enough. I guess I'm not cut out for this. Let me just get off of this ride.
Yeah. You want to know the truth?
Yeah.
I still get into my feelings.
So it's normal. It's just going to happen probably,
Yeah,
So how do we get past that?
Well, I let it sit. I might get a little upset about something and, I just let it sit. But, I sit in it.
Yeah.
I sit in it for, several hours, 24 hours. I just sit in it. And after I sit in it, I start to kind of get past the emotional response and I start to see what other people are saying. I may not agree with it, but I still seek to understand.
Yeah.
But I mean, truthfully speaking, I still get in my feelings because I am still that little girl at times who really just wants to be successful, right?
Yeah.
Who just wants to do the right thing. The difference is I've developed a level of resilience that allows me to bounce back. It might take me, a couple of days, but I bounce back. Mm-hmm. When I was younger, I didn't have that resilience.
Mm-hmm. I love so much that you say you sit in it, because one of the things that can get us into trouble is that we respond or react immediately from that place when we're in our feelings, opposed to being able to just digest it for a little while and then being able to respond in a more healthy way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, sitting in it allows me to not go to places, and I call it the abyss, right? I call that place the abyss. I don't allow myself to go there.
Yeah.
Because if I go there, I might say what I'm thinking, right? So I don't go to that place.
You don't want to know what I'm thinking right now.
It's about living life on purpose, right? So I purposefully don't go, there. I just sit in it because it allows me to just think through the whole entire, like if somebody's giving me some bad feedback, or I'm not going to say bad feedback, I'm going to say some constructive criticism. I sit and I play back a lot of different experiences to see where that might be coming from, because I might be able to see a pattern that I can easily detect and say, okay, I get it. I may not have intended this, but I see why they perceive it that way. So sitting in it allows me to evaluate it and just kind of just understand where it might be coming from.
Yeah.
And then it takes the edge off. It takes the edge off so I can really see it for what it is and either decide to respond or decide not to respond.
Yeah. No, that's good stuff. One of the things that you've noted as being very pivotal to your development, your success, and I can say it's the same thing for me, is coaching. I became a coach because I had a very good coach and I wanted other people to benefit from that experience that I had. So what was it that made you decide, all right, yes, I have this big old corporate job and I'm already busy, but you know what? I think I'm going to become a coach now on top of that.
I see so many women who are living small. They literally they stay where they are. And I knew that my experiences were not put in my life simply for me to hold on to them.
Yeah.
They were put into my life for me to help others move past their own experiences. I've always felt that there was something bigger for me. I didn't know what it was.
Yes.
I knew there was something bigger for me, but what I also learned throughout life is that people were always coming to me, asking me for help, asking me for guidance. And I started to put it together that people saw me as this role model or as this mentor, and they were always asking me. And at some point I said, okay, I can parlay this, having these conversations into doing it bigger. And so that's what really propelled me to become a coach, is because I think other people constantly ask me for help, constantly ask me for guidance. And what I was giving them, I was giving it to them straight. And as I say to my team, I give it to you straight, no chaser, right? Yeah. Because my desire for you is so big that I don't want to cloud my message by dancing around what you need to hear. And so I just wanted to do it for more women. I didn't just want to do it in the office. I knew that I could make an impact outside of what was happening in the office from day to day.
Yeah.
So when I got into coaching, it wasn't initially that I was looking to coach. I was looking to create a course. But then I realized, well, how do I know whether or not this is going to work for people I don't work with?
Yes.
And I became a coach.
I love it. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I love it. One of the things that I see quite often is people really mashing up this thing. We'll say mentor, we'll say coach, we'll say consultant, and they make it all one thing when there are three distinctly different things. So what is the difference between a coach and a mentor?
A mentor gives you advice, tells you based on their experience, how to do this, how to do that, or how to approach different things. Mm-hmm. A coach creates the space for you to figure things out on your own.
Yeah.
A coach will more often ask you questions to help you think through what's going on in your life, or think through a problem so that you can come to your own conclusions. And a mentor oftentimes tells you. And truthfully speaking, mentoring can help. But what I've come to learn since becoming a certified coach is that mentoring, I think, it keeps people where they are. Whereas coaching allows you to become resourceful so that you can figure things out on your own as you go along.
Yes, that is so true, because and one of the things as a coach that I've been very careful of, or even in personal relationships, if I think about it, whether it was in ministry or things like that, I'm always very cognizant of making sure people don't become too dependent upon me. Because if you're in what you feel is crisis and it's, you call me, you reach out to me, and I'm not there, I don't want you to feel like you can't figure things out because I'm not there. Mm-hmm. And so it is such a powerful gift to be able to give to someone as a coach, that they get to the point where they have the tools. And one of the biggest compliments that I can get is when someone will say, I heard your voice in my head.
Exactly.
And I knew these were the questions that you would ask me.
Yes.
And so I just asked myself these questions and I figured it out.
Yes. That's exactly what a coach does.
Yeah.
It creates that space for them to remember that they've done it on their own before and they can do it on their own. And here's how they go about doing it.
Yeah. Now you have a coaching program, like the Life on Purpose coaching program. It's a 10-week program.
Yes.
Tell us about what who that program is for and what they can expect to get from that experience.
Yeah. So that program, I love that program. I actually created it right before COVID last year, like really right before COVID like went crazy. And I created it because what I was finding were there are women in corporate America who I've come across who want to do big things. They want to do better things, but they're not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Other than sitting in their stuff. And I call it stuff, whatever that stuff is. But what I found to be interesting is that more often than not, that stuff is some kind of trauma from their past, right? That they don't even realize is precluding them from moving forward because it's putting them in this position where all the decisions in many cases they're making are kind of driven by or based on this traumatic experience that they had in their lives. And so I developed this program to really help those women in corporate America, whether you want to become a leader, whether or not you want to do something different, whether or not you want to start your business. It's for women who are professional, who find themselves stuck and kind of repeating the same cycle. They might be moving from state to state and still end up in the same place, or they are not able to move forward. They keep getting passed over in promotions, or they just want to get out of that box. It's for those women who just want to move forward. So it's a 10-week coaching program where the first 3 to 4 weeks is all about self-awareness. We get into your stuff.
Yeah.
We really get into your stuff. And that's a part of the program where if you're making excuses about why this or that or stuff, I'm like, yeah, no, we're not having that. We're not doing that. You didn't come to me because you wanted to just kind of stay stagnant. When you come to me, I'm going to give it to you straight, no chaser, and we're going to do the work necessary to move forward. The next 3 weeks after that, we start looking at what are those things that you've always wanted to do? What are those goals? Let's think big. Now that we've gotten those big rocks out of the way, let's start looking at your goals and the things that you truly, truly want to accomplish. In the last 3 to 4 weeks, really about building a strong foundation of support, both in your habits, both with your personal board of directors, and just making sure that you have the foundation needed to help you move forward in accomplishing those goals.
Yes. So if women are interested in this program, what do they need to do to find out more and to sign up for it?
Well, they can come to one. I have 2 websites. One is veronicacarmstrong.com or the other, which I think is, if you're a leader, which is a good one, is leadershiplifesupport.com. Go to that website, go to either of one of those websites and just hit contact me or schedule a discovery call and we can talk through your situation. Now, I'll be honest. Now, I can't help everyone, right? And not everyone is ready for coaching.
Yeah.
And not everyone is ready for my coaching. I mean, let's because if you're not ready for someone who is not going to allow you to make excuses, who's just going to push you, then I'm not that coach. But if you're ready for someone who's going to get in this with you and hold you accountable to being real to yourself and taking responsibility, I'm that coach. I'm definitely that coach.
Yeah. One of the things that I see is that, we've got to realize, for folks that are struggling or maybe on the fence and trying to decide, do I need a coach? Should I hire a coach? Should I invest in? Because so many people are not even used to making investments in themselves. You might go buy a pair of red bottoms or, go to the Caribbean, but you won't invest in yourself,
right,
in your future.
Right.
But I think that one of the biggest signs that you are ready for coaching, and you said it for you, I know this was the same for me, when you know that you know that you know that there is more for you.
Yeah.
Because there's some people that are just content. They will just sit back and they will complain and they will be miserable and they love, wallowing in their pity party. And you know what? If that's where you're at, go for it. Do that.
Right.
But when you know there's something more, just understanding that you don't have to try to figure it out all by yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can't.
Yeah.
None of us that have accomplished amazing things have done it by ourselves. But that's another thing for women, and particularly Black women. We're so used to having to be superwoman, and I got to figure it out.
Right.
And I got to figure it out by myself.
Right.
And that's, to me, that is a cycle that we have got to break.
Right. But don't you think, though, we aren't necessarily exposed to all of these different tools and resources. And so as a consequence, people look at coaching as, not sure what that is. And they don't realize a lot of these influencers they see out there, a lot of these influencers have coaches behind them. Right?
Yes.
They don't realize that. And so it's not one of those services that people who look like us readily accept as a way or as a tool that will help them achieve their goals. And so my goal is to, to break that cycle, because I have given so many free coaching sessions to people. I sometimes do it to a fault, but if
we gotta work on that.
I know. But if I can be that person that helps you understand how coaching can help you and achieve your goals, doesn't mean I'm not going to tell you everything you need to do. I'm going to help you unleash what's already in there.
Yeah.
If I can keep doing that to get people to understand, women to understand, I'm going to keep doing it. But I think it's just, we are not exposed to it as much as others as a tool.
That's true. And I, coming out of corporate myself, I knew executive coaching.
Right.
And all of the VPs, they all had executive coaches.
Right.
But that looked like, okay, that's something for them, not for somebody at, mid-level management like me.
Right.
And so when I discovered that world, I can have that too.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Yeah, I need that.
Absolutely.
And it made, sometimes I just sit back and I think to myself, where would I be right now if I hadn't hired my first coach?
Absolutely. It's true. Where would I be if I didn't have you? If I didn't have my, my other two coaches? Where would I be? I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and just like if we think about athletes, if they're focused on peak performance, they have a nutritionist, they have a coach, they have a trainer, they have teammates. If they play a group sport, and even if they're playing individual sports, they may have sparring partners, all those things. They are not expected to be great by themselves.
And they aren't, that's why they all have coaches.
Yeah.
And that's a great analogy, because I've heard people use that before. Athletes have coaches. Like, why shouldn't people have coaches?
Right.
And that is so true.
Right. So, yeah. So if you're listening right now, I'm just going to tell you, stop feeling like, that's not for me. I'm not, at this level. So I can look. She's putting this opportunity here. And if you want your life to truly be different, take advantage of the opportunities that are in front of you.
Absolutely. And the thing I say to people is that you are born with everything you need to be successful. It is your responsibility and obligation to do something with those God-given talents while you're here. Don't squander the opportunity. Don't squander the opportunity, because we talk about, creating generational wealth. We talk about, doing this and doing that. Well, be the example that you need to be by investing in yourself and then touching others. That is going to be the best and the quickest way for us to pull each other up, is by investing in ourselves and then turning around and touching the lives of others.
Yep. Yep. The desire is one thing, but we got to have the tools.
Yeah.
And even when you talked about dealing with trauma, one of the reasons that so many people never get beyond this is because they don't have the tools to move forward.
Right.
So wherever it is that you are, whatever it is that you're feeling stuck in, you've got to figure out what are the tools that you need to be able to move forward.
Right.
And that may be, and I'll even say, it's good to have a coach and a therapist. Because those are two distinctly different things as well.
Absolutely.
Where, a therapist will help you to really get to the root of a lot of that stuff and dig it up and deal with the emotions that come out of that. But working with a coach really gets you to understand, I'm doing this because of that. This is what's at the root of it. But now let's figure out how to go forward.
Right.
We're not just going to keep making that excuse of, I've been through this and this is why I'm this way.
Right.
But now what am I going to do different?
Right. But you've pointed out something that's important for people to understand, and it's a good distinction. Coaches don't go back and look in your life and all that kind of good stuff. Like when I meet with my clients, we talk about what's happened to them. If they want to share, they don't have to share because it helps me understand. But coaches go forward. They look forward. We don't dig into your background and we don't dig into all that stuff. That's a therapist. And if there's a situation where I think my client needs therapy, I will let them know. probably should consider getting a therapist. But as a coach, what I do is I look at the behaviors that are playing out today that are causing you to be where you are. And let's kind of unravel that. Let's look at that and let's move forward.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm so excited because you and I have a book coming out.
We do.
Yes, yes, yes. On Purpose, 12 Strategies to Reclaim Your Power and Change Your Life.
Yes.
And your chapter is such a pivotal chapter and conversation that you're really having with our readers about being able to move beyond those things that have happened in our life that maybe we've developed those limiting beliefs around, or made excuses, or made ourselves believe that we just, we can't do more, we can't be more. It's just not in the cards for us.
Yeah.
And so I really appreciate the very practical tips that you're giving to our readers in that. So I don't know when you're listening to this podcast, but the book will be available on June 22nd. If you're listening to this before then hold on. If you're listening to it after that, then go get it right now because you need it right now. Yeah. And you need to read what Veronica has to say in that. But even more, if you're listening to this and you're seeing yourself in this conversation that we're having, I really encourage you to reach out to her, veronicacarmstrong.com or leadershiplifesupport.com. Look into the Life on Purpose coaching program.
Yes.
Or if you are an executive already, you're a leader, you want to get into leadership, you want to be a better leader, as a woman, and you know that there's stuff that we deal with as leaders that our counterparts that have different parts,
yeah.
they don't have to deal with, then y'all need to have a conversation. You need to have a conversation with Veronica because she gets it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm also a Gallup Certified Strengths Coach. So if you don't want to go through a 10-week coaching program, I have a 6-session program where you can kind of get to the heart of what are your strengths so I can help you figure out how to operate in your zone of genius.
Yeah.
Right. That's the big thing, is operating in our zone of genius. That's when we are doing what we were here to do.
That is of all the assessments that I've taken, DISC and Enneagram and all that, StrengthsFinder is hands down my favorite.
It's the best.
Because it allows you to, how there's just certain things that you do and you're like, why am I this way? Why am I not? And it's just like, oh my goodness, they see me.
Yeah.
They get me.
Yeah.
And then knowing how to use that.
Yes.
To be more successful individually and with the people, personally and professionally, be more successful with your loved ones.
Absolutely.
In the professional environment. I love that assessment so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Achiever's my number one, hence why we used to leave dead bodies in my path. Because I'm always achieving, right?
Okay, so what are your top 5?
Oh gosh, achiever, deliberative, learner, focus, and I forget what the other one is. I
always look. I'm going to see if I can remember my top 5. So,
maximizer. It's maximizer. That's number 5. Hence why I'm a coach.
So mine are positivity, futuristic, communication, activator, and look, now I'm going to try to remember my 4th one. I can't remember, or 5th one. And I can't remember my 5th one. But I love even in seeing how things come together.
Yes.
Visionary. Is that it? Future? No, that's futuristic. That's futuristic. I already said that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyhow, I'll post it in the show notes when I figure out what my 5th one is, and I'll post Veronica's too. But in seeing how they play together, is so interesting because I realized that the futuristic and the activator together are what makes me so effective in the people that I work with, because it's like, all right, we don't have time to sit here and figure out all of the things.
Right.
Let's go.
Yes. Yes.
So I can see the big picture. And even sometimes when I'm talking to people and they don't get the big, they don't even see their own picture yet.
Yes.
Like I see it.
Right.
And once I see it, like we gotta go.
Yeah.
And so when you can figure out your strengths and then how they play together.
Yes.
Oh that is such a game changer.
It is such a game changer. And the beauty of it is that you're focusing on your unique strengths, not your areas of opportunity,
Yes.
but your unique strengths. And when you are operating in your zone of genius, you are operating on all cylinders. And that's
Yes.
what I strive for. And one of the things I didn't say is in the first 4 weeks of my program, you are required to take the Gallup, the Clifton Strengths.
Yeah.
I do that assessment as well as the predictive index. I do not coach without helping you understand who you are. And it is such a game changer for all of my clients, just knowing who they are and knowing how they lead.
Yeah.
Because that helps them and it gives them clarity.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Look, I'm sitting here, my wheels are turning, and I'm looking at how do we integrate this into some of the other programs that we're doing because it's so critical.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've got a lot of things on the table. We've got the Life on Purpose coaching program.
Mm-hmm.
We can do the Clifton Strengths program, the 6 sessions there to just really understand yourself better.
Yes.
And then we've got executive coaching.
Yeah.
So no matter where you are on the spectrum, you're still trying to discover who I am. You see the opportunities, you know there's more for you, and you're looking to really develop that plan, or you've already achieved, a significant level of success, but now it's okay. Now what am I doing really to build that legacy and to think and lead beyond myself? Because there's a big difference between being successful as an individual contributor and being a leader.
Absolutely.
And too many times organizations give people the titles, but they don't give them the skills to lead either.
Oh boy, are you telling the truth?
Talk about dead bodies, more dead bodies.
Ooh, yes. Oh, yes. Too many leaders in positions that they're not equipped to be in. Not that they shouldn't be in them, they just don't have the skill and no one's giving them the feedback.
Right. So at the end of the day, I think what it all comes down to is there are tools that are out there and available to you to help you to be who you want to be.
Right.
And to really tap into what's inside of you. And you've said it, everything that you need is already inside of you.
Right.
But without those tools to really walk in it and build it out, you're going to struggle.
Right.
So we've got to stop trying to do that all on our own.
That, and we have to stop learning, right?
Come on.
We have to continue to learn. If you just stop reading, stop studying, stop learning, what are you doing? Like, where are you going? You got to continue to learn. And coaching is just one of those tools that will help you continue that journey.
Yes. When you get to the point where you're like, oh, I got it all figured out, you just go ahead and dig your grave.
Yeah.
Because if you figured it all out, what good are you to yourself or anybody else?
Exactly. And no one is going to figure it all out.
No. just go and dig your grave and climb in.
So let's stop fooling ourselves, because that's just not going to happen. Life is a journey of learning.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so fun. Even the mistakes. I think about what I've gotten from so many of the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah.
As painful as they may have been. And sometimes you don't want to, and to have a conversation with a coach about those things and really make sure you get the lesson.
Yeah.
So you don't have to repeat them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's golden.
Yep, sure is.
All right. Well, I could talk to you all day. And if we start digging into the corporate stuff and that, like, I start digging back into the drama of some of those experiences, we could really be here all day. But I'm not going to keep you here all day, but I look forward to having more conversations with you. You are one of the collaborators in the Platform for Purpose Incubator.
Yes.
And the purpose of the incubator is really to make sure that voices like yours get out there so people know the answers are there.
Yeah.
You don't have to struggle because there's a woman named Veronica Armstrong.
Right. Yeah.
Who can help you.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure you know her.
Yeah.
So visit her website, get the book, On Purpose, 12 Strategies to Reclaim Your Power and Change Your Life, and make sure you connect with her.
Absolutely.
So before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to leave our listeners with?
I just want my sisters to know, we need to be supportive of one another. And if we have accomplished things in life that we can kind of reach back and help pull our younger sisters up, let's just do that.
Yes.
Let's stop waiting for everybody else to do it for us. Let's stop looking for other people to do it. Let's just do it. We have exactly what we need to do it today. Let's just do it.
Yes. And and stop judging them.
Yeah.
Start helping.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Because we can talk.
That's
we can pick them apart.
a whole nother conversation right there.
Oh my goodness. Yes. All right. So we've already concluded that we need to have conversation number 2 because there's so much more that we need to dig into.
No.
So until then, thank you so much for being here. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And thanks to all of you for hanging out with us today. Of course, On Purpose with Aisha Cogburn is that place where you get to learn more about regular people just like you who are bold enough to live their dreams. And guess what? If they can do it, you can too. And so I look forward to telling your story one day. Until next time, you keep living every day on purpose. Thanks for listening to On Purpose with Aisha Cogburn. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. And I'd love it if you left a review to help other people find the show too. And don't forget, visit onpurposepodcast.com for links to the things we mentioned on the show. We'll see you next time.